that, look at that, a chair. He's sponsored also part of our raffle. Buy your raffle tickets if you haven't. Visit his shop if you haven't. I hand in the money.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. And who here has been to my shop? All right, there's not many hands going up, is there? It's just at Market Row. So after this talk, I want to make sure that you all go and sort of check it out. What I wanted to do is that I wanted to spend the next 5 minutes telling you about the sacrifice that all the people from the Windrush generation made. I'm standing here because of the sacrifices that was made by those people. This is my story. Now, I was born in Clarendon. Anybody here from Clarendon? Yes. Okay. So I'm from Flankfield, Clarendon? Okay. So I'm from Flankfield, Clarendon. And you all know the story. Back in the 50s, my parents came over to this country and I was left to be brought up by my aunts and my uncles, and then they sent for me to come and join them when I was 4 years old and my sister was about 5 years. One of the things I like to say to people, because people don't really understand this, it takes a lot of courage to leave everything that you know behind you in order to go to a foreign country, in order to better your lives and better the lives of your children. So if you are black, if you are foreign, you are here today because somewhere and someone had the courage to leave everything behind to come to this country. And I don't need to tell you the story about what it was like, the hostility, all the things you had to go through just so we could have a break. And in my case, I was brought up in Birmingham. Anybody from Birmingham here? All right, well, I'm from Small Heath in Birmingham. Okay?
Welcome to town.
Okay, and Small Heath, again, like Brixton, one of those classic inner city areas. I'm from a family of 11. There's 11 of us in my family, and I want you to imagine this, 11 people living in a 2-up, 2-down terrace house in Small Heath, Birmingham, was not pretty. 3 to a bed, really, really poor. I like to go around and tell my story to young people especially. And one of the reasons why I like to tell them the story is because of this. My father had an allotment in Small Heath, and it was my responsibility as the eldest boy to look after this allotment. I was 11 years old, and it was my job to look after this allotment. And I loved being on this allotment, and I've always felt that actually farming is very, very much part of my DNA, because those of you who know Clarendon knows that it's bush, it's rural, there's farming country. So there's something about me that likes the idea of farming. And I made myself a promise. Remember this, tell your children this because it's very, very important. At the age of 11, at 11 years old, I made myself a promise that one day I would have my own farm. Okay? 11 years old I did that. Everything that I subsequently did with my life was to try and get into a position to buy a farm. I'm going to tell you how I did it. But the most important thing that young people need to learn is that they need to have the courage and the audacity that you all had to come to this country. You will not make dreams come true unless you're prepared to dream it, put it out there. If you don't, it won't happen. Now, I just went to the local school in Birmingham, and the school that I went to in those days, they didn't educate you, they policed you. They didn't think that you were going to achieve much in life, so they didn't really educate us much. And so it was a pretty shitty experience that I had at school. So I left school at 16 without any qualifications. I could hardly read and write. And so there wasn't many options available to me. And so therefore the only thing that I had available was to join the army. Now in those days, if you were a black guy, oh, there's some army people here, it'd be interesting to see what your government experience is now. But back in the day, if you were black and you had attitude, there was 1 or 2 things that was going to happen. You're either going to knuckle down, or they're going to kick the shit out of you to try and get you to sort of do as you're told. And so the only qualification that I have to my name is a dishonorable discharge from the army. And it's nice to see some of our black brethren here looking very, very handsome in their sort of military uniform, but the military was not for me. Now, at the age of 18, every single thing you'd predict would be happening to somebody like me from my side of the street that will end up in prison, in society's dustbin heap. It looked as though that was what was going to happen to me. But in those days, if you were a failure at everything, they said, well, what could you do with them? And so I then went to the local catering college in Birmingham, and I trained to be a chef. I absolutely loved it, loved being a chef. And then I went on to work as a chef for a number of years. But my story, there's a book that I've written. If anybody likes to hear more or read more about my life, there's a book that I've written. It's called Jeopardy, The Danger of Playing It Safe. And I knew the one thing that was always the driver for me was to one day own my own farm. And I knew that I was never going to do that by working as a chef. I needed to do something audacious in order to achieve my dreams. And at the time, there used to be some fantastic programs made on the BBC, and I can remember saying to all of my family and friends, you know what, I want to get a job as a producer-director making programs on the BBC. And you can imagine, everybody looked at me and thought, this guy is nuts, because he could hardly read and write. He doesn't have the education. How does he think he could do it? This is my philosophy. My philosophy in life, and if there's one thing you want to take away from this is these two things. Anybody that you'll ever meet, they're successful because of only two things. It doesn't matter on your background. Forget all this nonsense about education. It doesn't matter your sex. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. Very successful people are successful because they have two things. The first thing is that they are ruthlessly focused. And what I mean by that is that they're able to get rid of the white noise of life, the white noise of living. Most people's lives are full of shite, things that really do not matter. And the time they realize that is when they're on death's door, when they're in a hospital, when they have to focus on this one thing. So focus is one important thing. The second thing, and this is way more important than the first, is that you have to have passion. And the reason why you have to have passion is passion defies logic. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. If you're waiting for it to make sense, you'll never do it. People get really confused when I talk about passion. They don't know what it means. And I says, look, have you ever seen somebody when they're in love? They do fucking crazy things. They do things that do not make sense. They are so driven that tells you that when you allow passion to have its way, it could actually lead you in the right direction. So rather than spending it on other people, put it on yourself. So success is passion and also focus. So I wanted to get to the BBC, and I wrote to everybody. Nobody would answer me. And then at the time in Birmingham, they used to have a studio, and it's black people who went out of the way to help me, actually, because I can remember this. Because I went to the security guards that were manning the security and things, and I said, can I come and help you with doing this? And they said yes. And then the black people going and cleaning the offices, I said, can I come and help you clean the offices? And they said yes. And then this happened. Now I've got it, this is really important. I met a man, and I remember his name to this day. His name is Jock Gallagher. And I said, look, I want to come and work in television. And he talked to me for about an hour, and he says, look, you're not the type of person that we employ in television, but I'll do this. I will give you a job as a runner, and then to see what happens. Now that man, having the courage to give me that break, and started a long career in television. So the other important thing in life is to find your guardian angels. Find your guardian angels. Everything I've ever achieved, somebody has gone out of their way to make it happen. Part of my philosophy in life is to go out and try and help people to achieve what they want to do. Because I wouldn't be standing here today if people hadn't done it. So that's what I want to try and do. You're pushing me off now, then? No. Okay. Are you going to do it? There's a lot more I can get this. Okay, I can talk Britain.
Okay, give Wilfred a big round of applause. Appreciate it. He's one of Brixton's finest. Come on, let's pick him up. Come on.
Over to Michael.
Thank you.
Another round of applause for our black farmer. Awesome. We're about to have our food blessed.